Welcome to In the Know. This is Scott Moore, your host for the only podcast that covers hand, arm, and body protection through Ansel Healthcare, specifically through you, Fastenal. On today's show, it's part 2 of our look at new products this spring at Ansel Healthcare within the mechanical category, cut and coated gloves and sleeves. And joining us again is Kelly Patraju and also our Fastenal Hero of the Month, Andrew Hoene, is on the show. Look forward to that conversation. So let's get to it. Joined with us again is Kelly Patraju. Kelly, you were actually a part of the most viewed or listened to podcast in the Know history. You may be my lucky rabbit's foot.
Well, thanks so much, Scott. I love being on your podcast, and I'm very, very excited to be back. And thanks for asking, my expertise here.
Not a problem. It's always a pleasure. Today, we're sticking with new products. You're the expert in the room. Last episode, we previewed the 11 561 and 280 sleeve. We invited you back. Glad we did, because you've got some really exciting products that you want to introduce us to this week.
Yes, still all on the cut radar.
Excellent. So what are these gloves that you're talking about?
Well, Scott, it's funny that you mentioned that, because last time I realized I did start with the gloves, ended with sleeves. So this time I was thinking we can kind of go the opposite. So starting with the high cut sleeves that we have, which are the 11 290.
Okay.
So this is our high-cut, high-comfort sleeve, which is a new addition to our existing Intercept sleeves family. It was designed to answer the 3 key market trends of ergonomics, high-cut protection, and multi-risk protection. So really today we're hearing our customers want to have arm protection which doesn't hinder their workers' range of motion or create incremental fatigue, but they're also requesting more and more sleeves with ANSI cut level A4 and above, while also protecting against multiple risks like heat protection.
That makes a lot of sense, because for years and years, the industry had sold the buyer a cut level 4 or 5 ANSI glove, but then stuck them with an A2 or at the highest an A3 sleeve. And so this really rounds out that offering of having a sleeve that is consistent in protection with the glove.
That's exactly it. And with the 11 290, we clearly fill that gap. So this is a multi-risk, high-cut ANSI A5 sleeve with heat contact protection up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's excellent. And you said something that really drew my attention immediately. You mentioned ergo. What about this sleeve can our listeners take and use the ergo qualities to their decision makers and sell them on it?
You know what? I'm so glad you asked about that, because what's important to mention about this sleeve, besides the high cut and heat protection, is that thanks to the new patented knitting technology with a programmable yarn tension, the 11 290 is the first of the next generation sleeves with that ergonomic shape and compression profile. So you can actually compare this to, say, sports compression garments. So it has a tapered shape and 9 compression zones along the sleeve to deliver optimal comfort and performance and really provide the muscles with additional support and reduces overextension. So this sleeve not only aids in those MSDs, but also will stay in place and won't lose shape due to any kind of stretching.
It's funny, I'm a sports fan. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are as well. And all the time you see sports athletes, they're wearing some type of form of compression or support. And for some reason, we feel as long as it's not done on a ball field or on a baseball diamond or a basketball court, there's no need for reinforcement of muscles. But, very similarly to athletes, the worker may be using their muscles just as much as an athlete during the middle of their day and their work. So this is in my opinion, an excellent way to go and take the qualities of this new product into a safety manager and say, hey, listen, we have something that is beneficial to, ergonomically speaking, beneficial to your workers so that they may leave their job to go home to their family the same way that they came.
That's exactly it. And it's funny that you continue to build on that sports analogy there, because another great feature about this particular glove that I feel like we don't always think about when we're thinking about these working environments and these high risk working environments is that the 11290 also has an integrated elbow pad, which protects against impact. And I mean, I'm sure you remember when we were all younger, we're learning to rollerblade or ride our bike. We always had our elbow pads and our knee pads because those are highly sensitive areas that if you get hit the wrong way, you're done.
Oh, no, it's worse than that. As you get older, and you're not there yet, but I was getting out of my car and hit my elbow, and I thought I was going to die 2 days ago. So you're speaking my language. That's such a cool aspect of this sleeve. A lot of times you think that the fact that there are other injuries that can take place in the workforce, and by adding an elbow pad, that's kind of that's a weapon that can be used, to combat these frivolous injuries, these non-contact injuries, if you will, of the workplace. That's an excellent quality.
Exactly. And, I would say some of the areas that you really want to utilize this particular product are in the industries of automotive aftermarket, aerospace, machinery and equipment, metal fabrication, construction, and glass manufacturing. The risks that we're protecting against with this particular sleeve is really highly prevalent in these particular verticals.
And so that's the 11290, right?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. So everybody, if you have listened to this and you like the aspect and the qualities we just mentioned about the 11290, drop me a line. I'm also going to leave a link in the email that we send this podcast link out to you with so that you can get the PDF for the sell sheet. I think this is going to be a really hot product in the marketplace, particularly with those industries that Kelly just mentioned. Now moving on into gloves. Now, last month, we discussed the 11561, really kind of some groundbreaking qualities and features and benefits from that particular glove. But we're also taking a lot of what we've learned, but we've got a new family we want to talk about, right?
That's absolutely right. So, it's funny because when we talk about the sleeves before and making sure we have the right matching gloves with it, this next series would actually match perfectly with the 11290. And that is this truly innovative series of PU-coated products of the 11754, 755, and 757.
Okay.
So this is our first ultra lightweight 18 gauge high cut product series. So I'm sure everyone has dealt with customers who have ultra lightweight PU A2 gloves. But what is extremely unique about this series is that we can deliver the same comfort level of an A2 glove, but with triple and quadruple the cut protection.
That's pretty astounding, by the way.
100%. So with the 754, you get ANSI cut level A4. 755 delivers A5 protection. And the 757 is our highest in the series, delivering cut level A7.
If someone had taken me into a time machine 10 years ago and said, oh, by the way, we're going to be able to protect you with a glove that looks like this, and handed me an A2 glove, but it's going to have the protection rating of an A4 or higher, I would have had to have said, no way, right?
100%, because you don't expect to have those kind of comfort levels with those types of harsh materials that are needed for high cut levels.
So tell us, how did we do this? How did we innovate to this level in this period of time to where now we're able to effectively protect at these high levels, but offer this comfort that's just next to nothing?
Right. And I think we do that in a couple ways, right? So these gloves they're very soft. They use nylon and spandex comfort yarns to be able to deliver that level of softness. But what increases the level of comfort is this dropped pinky shape. So most of the competitors do not have this feature. This dropped pinky shape causes less fatigue in your hand while increasing effectiveness because it contours more of that natural webbing of your fingers. So I don't know if you've ever just taken a look at your hand just full on, but you can actually see that as you continue to go down from index finger to your pinky, you do see your pinky finger, it is a little bit lower compared to the other fingers.
Okay, I got to stop you right here. When I was introduced to this concept 10 years ago when I started at Ansel, I thought this is such a gimmick. But then they said, okay, take your hand. So everybody in podcast world, take up your hand, show yourself your own palm, and then follow the valleys between your fingers, and then look at how much lower, on my hand, it's about 1/8 of an inch lower, that valley between the ring finger and the pinky. And ergonomically, what Kelly's talking about here is that if you design a glove that is knitted in a fashion that takes into account that drop between the ring finger and the pinky, it's actually going to reduce fatigue substantially and increase grip. So Kelly, excellent way to introduce the D3 technology, kind of an older platform that we have, but it really is a beneficial feature. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I would say another feature that I feel we don't call enough attention to sometimes is that this series also has Dermatest certification. So that means you can count on the materials that are used not irritating your hands, not risking any kind of allergic reactions, that it is skin friendly. And I feel like sometimes we take that for granted. So that is another added level of that comfort, in my opinion.
Okay, so repeat that. What type of certification is that?
Dermatest. So it basically indicates that these are skin-friendly products.
That's really important, particularly in plants that may have encountered some issues with dermatitis, or maybe it had a bad experience with another type of glove. This may be that silver bullet to be able to go in and offer a true solution with a stamp of approval from a third party.
Exactly. And since we're talking about materials in the gloves, we also incorporate stainless steel and graphene into these gloves, which not only adds to the higher cut protection, but also adds a level of conductivity to the gloves, which helps drive the touchscreen performance.
Excellent. So I went into a facility, this is probably been 8 or 9 years ago, and it was in logistics. And one of the things that they would do is they would scan in a product, and they would take their finger and they would punch in on a touchscreen fob. Well, the issue is they weren't wearing a glove that was touchscreen compatible, so they were cutting the fingertip off of the index finger. And
right, and that inherently weakens the entire structure of the glove.
Absolutely. It obviously, weakens the structure of the glove. It exposes the wearer of that glove to risks in that region that's been cut off. But in this particular case, there's no need for that anymore. There is useful technology that we have at Ansel with this product family that they can use this in conjunction with touchscreens, and it just works seamlessly into the flow of their work. Just really an excellent feature.
Exactly. And also one thing to note, while all three of these styles are touchscreen compatible, the 757 also has an added benefit of being ESD protective as well. So you can protect from electrostatic discharge. So that's an added benefit that would be very interesting to some of our Industry 4.0 end customers.
So put into layman's terms what ESD means to a glove wearer or to someone who's trying to sell it to a customer.
With ESD, or electrostatic discharge, it really aims to dissipate charges as quickly as possible to prevent static discharge. So you can think of ESD as mini lightning, if you will. Wearing ESD protective clothing and gloves actually prevents that electrostatic discharge from damaging sensitive components or devices.
That's an excellent point. Listen, Kelly, this has been a wonderful conversation about a new family of products. When are these expected to be available if they're not already?
So the 754 and 755 are currently available for both samples as well as orders, whereas the 757 will be having a mass launch in November. So those will be widely available by the end of 2021. And Scott, I just want to point out, some of the industries that our sellers would really want to target here with these particular styles would be automotive, machinery and equipment, manufacturing, white goods, pretty much anywhere there's a high risk of high cut. But also because these are PU coated, they perform really well in areas that have a little bit of oil or lubricants like metalwork. And, contrary to most high cut industrial gloves on the market, not only will these protect against high cut risks, but they're also suited for more fine, dexterous work because they are super thin.
That's a really good point.
Exactly. So we're really giving our customers the opportunity where before they may have been sacrificing dexterity and comfort to reach certain levels of cut protection to now say, hey, for those applications and tasks, we would really prefer to have something ultra thin with super high cut protection.
Excellent. Kelly Patraju, thank you so much for joining us again. This has been a lot of fun and very enlightening. And I'm sure our listeners out there are really excited about getting their hands on some of these products. Again, guys out there in podcast land, if you have any questions about any of these gloves, and of course the 11-290 sleeve, please reach out to either me or Gabe Drolet via email, or just give us a call. We'll be happy to email you information or even forward you some samples. But in the future, Kelly, you must come back on our show. This has been a fantastic series because there's a lot of really cool things that is yet to come at Ansel, right?
Absolutely. We have NPDs ready and waiting. So more to come, more excitement, more innovation, and I am happy to come back and talk about those in the future.
So join with us now is Andrew Hoene, and Andrew is a regional safety sales specialist with Fastenal, and he has been selling for quite a while at the Fastenal company. Andrew, how long have you been with the company?
It'll be 14 years this July.
And that is, in the sales world in general, a long time. But the cool part about selling with Fastenal, in my opinion, is particularly when you get to the sales specialist and the national account manager, it is not an odd thing to have someone that's been with the company for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, correct. There's quite a few of us. We have quite a vast lineage with Fastenal amongst the regional safety sales managers.
So I'm going to start our conversation and really ask you about your successes in selling Ansel products and services. Obviously, this is an Ansel podcast in conjunction with Fastenal, but today it's about you, and we want to highlight some of the successes that Andrew Hoene has had in the field for those that are out there that may have just started with Fastenal or maybe have never thought of Ansel as a partner that they could sell products and services through. So, Andrew, tell us some success stories that you've had in selling Ansel.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I had to start with the first one, this kind of goes back to what made me a brand believer in Ansel, and that was how far above and beyond you guys go. In fact, even if the solution didn't exist, you figured out a way to make it. And the first application that I'm kind of referring to was on a call with a territory manager named Richard Watchell, who's still around with Ansel.
He is.
He used to be based out of St. Louis, and we were coming out of a call, and Richard had just simply said he had another meeting, and I asked him where he was headed to. He said he's going over to Caterpillar, where we didn't have a lot of safety business at that time. But Richard, I said, what are you going to do over there? And he pulled out this kind of glove-looking Kevlar glove thing with a dip but no fingers on it. And I said, what's that for? And he says, well, there's a gentleman over at Caterpillar that lost his hand in an amputation a while back, and we have a custom glove that we have made for him through a modification process. And I thought, wow, if these guys would go to that level to make sure that everyone's protected, I think that I could give them a big portion of my business opportunities, and they do the same thing for me, which they had. Everything from, like I said earlier, things that didn't exist to custom Sawyer Tower suits. And if you don't know what those are, I highly suggest that you reach out to your Ansel rep. But yeah, several opportunities from the invention of the 11-518 and that super thin A2 that just took the marketplace by storm, all the way up to the chemical cut resistant gloves that you guys have in the marketplace today. Just a lot of innovation.
So it's funny that you mentioned innovation, because our last podcast we covered new products, and we're always thinking in terms of innovation at Ansel. But it's really important for us to partner with suppliers and in the market, distribution channels in the market that are focused on selling innovation, but really getting the word out, I think, is a huge thing. To be able to say, "Hi, my name's Andrew Hoene," for example, and I've had success in selling innovation, because innovation can be expensive, right?
For sure. I mean, you're taking a risk there and trying to figure out what it is that the market needs and what it is the market demands and what they're willing to pay for it. And I think that that's a big evolution piece that's taken place since I've been working with Ansel, is that you guys had innovative products whenever the whole industry was innovating at the beginning. Now it seems like you've shifted your conversation more to, what does the customer want out of this product, rather than let's put something because we don't have an A2 in the marketplace. Now it's, what would a customer need in an A2 cut resistant glove? Or, with the 58-735, what would the customer need in a chemical cut resistant glove? Like, why put a high vis liner into there, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, the market is demanding it through the research that you guys have conducted.
That's a really strong point. Andrew, when it comes to building your business and going into a plant like ADM, for example, which you know very well, selling innovation to a plant like ADM, what does that do as far as the reputation that you build within that particular plant?
Well, I'd have to say that the big thing that you're doing is you're bringing them the most value, right? And that's how we're going to position that innovation, because you can always find a cheaper product. You can always pay less per widget, or in this case, glove or other PPE item. But you may pay more at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, even though you paid less per piece, right?
Okay.
So we're going to start off from that standpoint of, we're either going to maintain or increase your protection while we are providing more comfort and more value. What that does is that just distinguishes you from someone who comes in and wants to say, well, here's the price. I can beat whatever price someone else is giving you. There's a whole lot more that comes to it. And luckily, a partner like ADM has really understood that over the years. There's countless other people that Fastenal works with within our partners that we sell to, who understand that value as well. And that's really where we connect.
That makes total sense to me, and I think it's funny that you bring that up, because we're almost in this time, hopefully post-pandemic, as we were talking briefly before the interview started, that there's going to be a lot of customers that are going to be pinching us as people in sales, whether on the manufacturer side or on the distribution side. They're going to start talking about cost savings and really putting the pressure to us as salespeople to bring down the piece price. When in reality, to your point, there are other things that can be kept in mind. There are things like a total cost of ownership, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to reference a quote that I have heard countless times by Warren Buffett, where it says, price is what you'll pay, but value is what you'll get.
That's exactly right. In terms of Ansel Guardian, have you had any experiences selling with Ansel Guardian?
I have. I've utilized the Chemical Guardian countless times, and I'm constantly referencing the 8th generation chemical manual that you guys have put out. It's a tricky conversation to have, and it's a great opportunity to bring in experts, right? Because there's a lot more to a chemical than just a CAS number.
Yeah.
There's interactions with other chemicals. There's percents of concentration. There is permeation guidelines and the testing procedures that are done to go along with that.
When you think in terms of chemical interaction, when I started out in sales, particularly with glove sales, I was really kind of shy in terms of chemicals, because that's really an area where someone can be hurt. They can be really hurt beyond just maybe an abrasion or a small laceration. Some people work with chemicals every day that can cause cancer. So I was really shy about doing that. But what I've learned through the chemical guide of permeation and degradation is it allows you to really hone in on a specific solution. But to your point, what I love about Chemical Guardian is you can take a CAS number or really just raw material names and punch it into a program, and it spits out exactly what you should be using as far as protecting, and it gives you options as far as what your customers should be wearing to protect them for longer periods of time. When did you get involved into Chemical Guardian? When did you know that Chemical Guardian was kind of this aha moment for not just you, but also for your customer?
We're working on an opportunity in this bleach refinery process, where they had to change out these tubes in the bleach manufacturing piece of it. And so not only did we have, bleach or sodium hypochlorite but we also had heat, and we also had a couple other chemicals involved. And that was kind of that time where I said, all right, hey, time out. This is way over my head.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to make a suggestion right now that I would feel comfortable with. And that's kind of right about the time that I was first hearing about Chemical Guardian and the Guardian process in general, outside of, cut resistant gloves and things like that. And Derek Stoller, my territory rep at the time, was the nice thing about Derek was that he lived about 30 minutes away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Derek made a trip over, helped us out with that customer, and really just showed to that value and what that finished document looked like. I was really impressed with how just a couple of questions that he directed towards the customer that they quickly knew the answer to, that I hadn't uncovered yet, that he was able to generate a great polished looking report that had the best possible solution. Then we in turn were able to sample those products to the customer, collect that feedback, and really put them in a glove that they're still using today. And that was probably the better part of 7 years ago.
Oh, wow. Andrew, thanks for bringing that up. For those of you that are out there listening, what I will do is I'll put the link in our comments section in the email that I sent you with this link. Andrew, in terms of your successes with selling Ansell products and in being someone who's experienced, kind of talk to the inexperienced seller at Fastenal, no matter what their status is, and tell them how they can get involved with selling Ansell products, but also getting involved with the Ansell team.
Getting a relationship going with your territory managers is first and foremost, and then also being familiar with the Ansell internal resources like yourself, Scott, and as well as Gabe Drolet, just critical pieces in knowing who to reach out to and get samples, solutions, suggestions going forward. The other piece is that, as we were saying earlier, you guys are really leading the way on some innovation. Mm-hmm. Having that relationship is going to help you to stay connected with what products are coming out. But also, there's stuff that you guys have brought into the marketplace that is still relevant today that a lot of times, the territory reps don't talk about as much because it's not, new and sexy and, this snazzy new thing in the market. But there's some just phenomenal products out there that often get overlooked.
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Your successes, in selling Ansell products and services is really something that should be put on a poster board as kind of the way to do it. Each stop of your career, you've gotten involved with our team, and it's something that's very well appreciated and has taken a lot of notice. So we certainly appreciate the time, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on today, Scott. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with everyone.
And that's all the time we got for today's show. We thank you for joining us, and particularly our guests, Kelly Patraju with our product portfolio team at Ansell, and of course, our Fastenal Hero of the Month, Andrew Hoene. If you have any questions about any product or service that you have heard about during this podcast, please do not hesitate to reach out to either me, Scott Moore, or Gabe Drolet at Ansell Healthcare. You can find us at scott.moore@ansell.com or gabriel.drolet@ansell.com, or you can just ring us on the telephone. So until next time, be good to yourself.